What if the day of judgment has already passed and we are living in hell right now? It is an arresting thought. Life can become incredibly tough. The weight of modern existence drives many into deep despair and sometimes even to suicide. But if we look closely at our surroundings, this world doesn't actually fit the criteria for eternal punishment. We have stunning art, brilliant cello compositions, and the capacity to ravish music and experience aesthetic joy. The truest definition of a living hell isn't necessarily physical torment. It is the complete absence of aesthetic beauty, and with it, an absolute void of hope. Modern atheism is often framed as the natural result of intense rational thought and high education. Yet beneath that intellectual surface, the engine driving this worldview is a profound emotional state: hopelessness. The Buddha observed this exact state. He looked at a world full of suffering and identified the root cause as a concept called dukkha. This translates less to pain and more to unsatisfactoriness. It is the reality that the physical world is painfully impermanent. Humans possess a deep psychological drive to seek permanence. We want our youth, our health, and our love to last forever. When we anchor our search for meaning to these temporary physical things, we guarantee a loop of psychological disappointment. When we lose the ability to recognize beauty, we lose our awareness of the divine. A soul utterly blind to the aesthetics of reality is already tasting a self-made hell. The modern crisis of faith is actually a crisis of perception. It is a spiritual blindness that prevents us from seeing the adornments and beauty woven directly into reality. We know we are not in hell because beauty exists all around us, and the presence of that beauty serves as evidence for the existence of the divine. So why does it remain invisible to so many? In Sufi thought, there is a concept called kashf, which translates to the unveiling of the heart. Obstinate or arrogant individuals remain veiled, completely blind to the beauty surrounding them. This diagram illustrates the structure of faith. The outer boundary is physical submission, the daily rituals, the fasting, the mechanical actions of religion. But the inner core is pure belief, the subtle internal state of the mind and spirit. Mere physical submission cannot clear away despair. True internal belief has to evolve past the passive acceptance of doctrines and become a state of radical, active hope. Lifting the veil of despair requires pushing past the motions of physical rituals. We have to cultivate an active internal trust that actively dispels spiritual darkness. That absolute internal trust has a specific name: tawakkul. It is the hope and reliance placed entirely in the divine, and it is the strict requirement for uncovering the heart. There is a historical Sufi anecdote about two prominent saints from Kashmir meeting. The story perfectly illustrates how this spiritual fulfillment operates beyond our physical capacity. Upon meeting, one saint offered the other a cup of milk, filled exactly to the brim. It was a silent message indicating his spiritual state was already full, leaving no room for anyone to add to his sainthood. It represents a life that appears entirely complete, yet lacks a certain divine spark. In response, the other saint gently placed a couple of saffron stigmas on top of the milk. That tiny addition is the vital divine element required to uncover the heart and reveal true light. That saffron is radical hope. Tawakkul is the essential catalyst that takes a life that is merely physically full and transforms it into a deeply illuminated spiritual existence. If radical hope is the catalyst, the natural question becomes, how do we actually practice this faith in our daily actions? The answer lies in the highest degree of faith, known as Ihsan. Translated simply, it means the act of doing what is beautiful. In this context, beauty is a direct, visible manifestation of the divine's own character spilling into the physical world. When we are mesmerized by the perfect symmetry of a leaf, a good fragrance, or a profoundly ethical act, it is actually the human soul recognizing a tiny glimpse of its creator. By cultivating an awareness of the divine, we directly increase our own capacity to perceive and experience this hidden beauty in the everyday mundane world. The operational mechanics of Ihsan are straightforward. You perform every single mundane action as if you are looking directly at God, or at the very least, knowing that He sees you. This naturally leads to hikmah, or wisdom. It is the practice of placing things exactly where they belong, executing every task with profound humility and an absolute absence of arrogance. This perspective reframes every action, from sweeping a floor to having a conversation, as an expression of universal worship and connection. Actively perceiving and creating beauty dissolves the initial conditions of despair. By lifting the veil of hopelessness, this practice shifts the perception of reality away from a living hell and toward a present heaven.